3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy. Let's do this for May 16th, 2024. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, Microsoft might have given us a glimpse at its next-gen gaming tech, and leadership is changing at Helldivers 2 studio Arrowhead. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host at Game Mess Mornings. It's Sean, TurboShawn McDowell. Sean, how are you doing?
Jeff, I know you got a lot going on.
Sure.
But have you ever had to learn a balance patch 3 days before the second biggest tournament in the world?
It feels like that's what I'm doing right now in my life.
Basically the same.
Yeah, but no, not quite.
About.
Why are they doing this? Explain to the kids what's going on.
Okay, so, chat, if you didn't know, the second biggest, at least paid fighting game tournament in the world, Combo Breaker, maybe that number has changed since like last year or whatever. But because it's not a Capcom Pro Tour event, they are running the balance patch for Street Fighter 6 that just came out today or yesterday night, whatever it ended up being, and the new character, Akuma, is legal. And you might say to yourself, why would the tournament organizers do that?
Right, I would say that.
It wasn't the tournament organizers. They put out a poll to everyone registered for SF6. 80% of people want both. So
Maniacs.
All the sickos in the FGC are doing this to me, Jeff.
Maniacs.
I mean, on the plus side, my character got buffs. So shout out to all the Minone mains.
Right. Do you think it's like stuff like that where people are like, well, hey, if this mixes things up, it increases my chances because the people that are like the best that have been practicing one way, now they have to. I mean, it's not really going to work that way because the best are going to be the ones that are going to also be the best at adapting to changes, I would assume. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly. So, the game has had no major balance patches since it came out. So that's basically what everyone's looking forward to. They just want to play at a high-level tournament where things are different and things are new. And you know what? It's chaotic. I got to basically relearn SF6 on top of getting better at Tekken because that's my main game this year. But it's going to be a wild time. I can't wait for it this weekend.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm putting all my money on you, like I said. So you better win. Better win. Or else my kids aren't going to Disney.
1,600 Tekken players, 1,500 Street Fighter players. I got this.
Yeah, that's really good for me. It's we'll see. Yeah. All right. Anything else going on with you? You've been keeping up with the games out there, or is it just all practice all the time right now?
It's been mostly that. Like we talked about elsewhere, I have been playing Thousand X Resist. Great story-driven game.
Everyone seems to really like it.
Yeah, and I'm looking to fire up a couple more things this week when I need some wind down time. When I need to step away from the fight pad. Rakugaki looks really good, so I think that came out today. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah, think so. So yeah, they're good games. Too many games. Too many freaking games.
Too many games. And we were talking about, hey, the big games would slow down, and then we'd have time to do other stuff. And it's like then a million awesome smaller games came out, and also took all the time in the world that I had. Not really complaining because it's been a lot of very cool games. That Crypt Master is kind of has me right now. That's an interesting one.
Good variety of games. Like
that
helps because there's so many indies coming out, but also regardless how you feel about Hellblade, even that a whole bunch of different stuff coming out.
Lots of different stuff. All right, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Microsoft demos Baldur's Gate 3, Borderlands running at 30 frames per second on the new Snapdragon X Elite Windows on ARM platform with auto super resolution support in tow. This comes from Jez Corden, and one of the best resolutions that there is over at Windows Central. Debuting this week during Build 2024, Microsoft's AI and Surface event showcased the new Qualcomm Snapdragon X Elite, which grants devices like the new Surface Pro 11 and Surface Laptop 7 all-day battery life, superior performance to their Intel predecessors, and better cooling. The ultra-low energy ARM processing requires some emulation for certain apps, but the performance is so good that it has become something of a non-issue. These devices will run much cooler than previous Surface laptops, tablets and laptops without sacrificing performance. Surface has some notoriety for getting hot enough to fry eggs, particularly in warm climates. I believe it. That reality is about to change. Basically, they showed this off, though. One way that you can prove that this is not going to be a problem is games, right? This is the thing that people say,
right.
Hey, they're built for Windows. What's the translation layer going to be like? And people are a little bit more familiar with this stuff now because of the Steam Deck running Linux. But Microsoft's history with ARM and translation layers has with ARM, the Nintendo fighting game
Nintendo's
ARMS.
hit game, yeah.
Yes, of course, they love it over there. Their experience with ARM has not been great. They've tried this a bunch of times before, and gaming is usually one of the things held up as, hey, this doesn't work the way we need it to. But to prove this, they showed off some big games. Microsoft revealed that Baldur's Gate 3 will run at around 30 frames per second unlocked on something like a Surface Pro 11, which is quite encouraging. Microsoft also showcased Borderlands running on Windows on ARM with Microsoft's new native auto super resolution support. So this, it's Snapdragon. These are mobile processors first. They are getting more powerful for sure. This is, probably this must be one of Snapdragon's most powerful. Snapdragon, who's that? It's Qualcomm, right? Must be Qualcomm's most powerful thing right now. Not going to be as out of the park powerful as like the stuff that's happening over at Apple, where they're designing their own silicon and they are also designing all the apps to work with it. So everything just works hand in hand and is super efficient and super powerful. This is going to be better in a lot of ways than what you get from x86, which is kind of getting stuck in the mud a little bit. Are you encouraged by this, and do you think this has implications for the future of gaming for Microsoft?
Oh yeah, this is great stuff. I've been looking forward to ARM slowly taking over x86 for a while now. Like you said, Apple has moved over to that architecture in general. If anyone doesn't know, basically, long and short of it is the type of processor that's in your phone and your tablet or whatever are now becoming good enough and efficient enough that they can just run those at higher clock speeds and everything. And the way Apple does it may even basically glue them together to have a lot of extra performance. Mobile chips are getting good enough that they will be able to replace desktop chips, as we've been able to see, where you take that tech, you scale it up a lot, like Apple has done, and you put in stuff like the Mac Pros and whatnot, and they can do some pretty impressive stuff. On the Qualcomm side of things, they have this new, I actually hadn't heard of the X Elite yet. Everyone's talking about the Snapdragon Gen 3 is the hot stuff right now. It's in the new Samsung Galaxy phones and everything. And when you look at the gaming performance of all that, it's really good and it's impressive. And this is what we've been waiting for, because something like the Steam Deck is as bulky as it is because they need good cooling and everything in there, because it is just an x86 chip, that other type of chip that we've been talking about. But if we can move everything over to these ARM chips, that's going to be great for everything. We're going to get good performance out of it. It's going to have better cooling, so you can have smaller form factors. Or again, you can scale it up and have like the same size devices that we have now, but you basically overclock them and then slap really good cooling on them. And we'll be able to get stuff like Microsoft has not talked about publicly necessarily as much, but we have found out is part of their plan to move towards more of this stuff. And we can see it happening here with the Surface as well. So I'm excited for all of this, Jeff. This is great for tech nerds like us, and hopefully we simplify a little more for people who aren't following this stuff like we are.
Exactly. Yes. It's the kind of thing where let me see if I can fix this. There we go. All right. I literally just the whole OBS scene broke, and I was fixing it the entire time you were talking, and I just got it over the finish line the second you stopped, which feels like that's a good sign, I think.
Yeah. Again, I mentioned we've been working together a while now. Could you tell I was kind of trying to work with you?
I could tell, and I was very appreciative. So yes, everything you're saying is exactly where I'm coming at this from. Like, this is promising. I think this is part of it feels inevitable that we're going to kind of get to the point where ARM does take over. It feels like that's like it hasn't quite been decided. It feels like it's very close to being decided. And if you are one of these companies that does produce hardware that needs a powerful processor in it, if you don't have a plan that includes something that involves ARM, you're going to get left behind very likely. So they have to have this ready, even if they don't end up putting it in the next Xbox. Even if they do have some alternative that is an ultra efficient x86 chip that goes into a handheld, which is still possible. And there's reasons to do that because it would be a slightly less of a headache in some ways. But I think what we're talking about is future proofing, long-term thinking, and doing the work now so that you could be backward compatible 20 years from now once RISC architecture is just the default across the board. So
exactly.
And Microsoft does have teams that understand backward compatibility. They have teams that understand building compatibility layers. If they just get to work on this now, it will just save them so much time in the future. This is, I think, if I were to place money now, I probably would put it on the next major Xbox console launch cycle will be based primarily on technology like this. I think they will actually shift away from x86.
Yeah, they can have a good enough compatibility layer, which again, like we've seen with Proton on Steam Deck, those are getting really good. Microsoft's been working on those for a while now. Windows on ARM does have a compatibility layer that allows you to run x86 stuff already, so it's already being worked on there. I could very easily see in, and this is a funny thing, I'm always in the chats for these shows and reading the comments and everything. People don't want to acknowledge that we are getting a new console generation within the next probably 3-ish years.
I get that. I understand where people are coming from. This has felt like an unsatisfying console generation.
Yeah, and some people still chalk it up as an excuse or whatever, but no. The pandemic really did mess up this generation.
For sure. Yeah. It's made the feelings feel way off.
Yeah. And one of the problems with that is technology has advanced, but development couldn't, because we can always theoretically craft all this new stuff, all this new tech we want to put out once the fabrication lines are back up and running. But when it comes to the development side of things, that's something that was slowed down. So the tech has basically lapped where we are at with these development teams right now. So that's why it feels like, hey, this generation hasn't really started, because from a development side, it kind of hasn't. But that doesn't mean that new tech isn't there for whenever they feel the need to put out new consoles, which, by the way, your nice, shiny current gen consoles aren't so shiny anymore, everybody. Yeah. And that's just the way it is.
It's a little bit of a perfect storm too, because the pandemic hit right when I think a lot of developers and people responsible for development were looking around and being like, okay, we got through that whole last generation, basically kind of, going for higher resolutions for the same kinds of games we've been doing for a long time. Now, these new consoles are going to have much better CPUs, be much better at stuff like simulation. We're going to maybe take some big risks and try some new stuff. And then the pandemic hit, and it's like, oh shit, all that stuff that we were afraid to try for 10 years, that would be insane to do it now. Just make safe bets. Just do things that that work. And now they're in this position where no one really knows where to make the next big leap, because if you just go after visual fidelity, you're almost certainly going to be boned if you're not one of the biggest developers in the world. I think that I think we're seeing this a little bit with Hellblade 2. This is not the whole story. Hellblade 2 looks really good, and I think there's a lot of so what happening in response to that. Not across the board, but there's enough of that it's kind of been like, man, what's the point of that? And then if you do have a game that's going to have great graphical fidelity and then also have a ton of game behind it, the real limiting factor there, we say on the show all the time, is it's money. It's not the power of these systems anymore. And there's always going to be a couple companies that could spend more than you. And when you try to keep up with the Joneses, you're going to get burned really bad doing that, because Rockstar's out there and Naughty Dog is out there. So you have to make a decision now of how can you separate your game? But when the pandemic happened, that made those bets seem that much scarier. So I think they put off the generation was supposed to be this chance to figure out what games could be like going forward, and no one actually saw that through.
Even if you can't spend a lot, people can only work so fast, and that's always going to be a problem. And when we're dealing with these games with huge 4K assets and everything, those take a lot of time to make. That's why, for better or worse, why companies are looking at stuff like AI to try to speed that up, even if it's not replacing jobs, just to try to generate, sort of the raw materials, if you will, of the game a little bit faster. So that way the artists can get to work faster on crafting these worlds. And it's just, we're these giant games are just taking too damn long to make, and we're trying to figure out ways to speed that up. And you mentioned like the way Hellblade looks and everything. It is I think we have once again reached a point where this looks photorealistic to us.
Uh-huh.
I saw John Lemon posting those screenshots the other day. He took some choice ones that he wanted to share, and it straight up looked like actors in a movie to me at this point, Jeff. You put a little bit of film grain over some stuff and everything like that, and you just obscure the image a little bit, and it does a lot to hide any little imperfections, and it does look incredible. But anytime you're playing a game, coming from fighting games, as I mentioned at the top of the show, big thing for me is you stop noticing that stuff at a certain point.
Yeah.
If the gameplay is there to back it up, I think all these dots are connecting for why people maybe don't love Hellblade 2 as much, because they slowly start to not notice the visual flourishes. And when they get to the gameplay, they're like, oh, this
feels a little bit old.
Feels a bit dated. Yeah. And that's why, I think Mike has talked even on this show about how at a certain point, he just stopped noticing resolution and stuff like that. I think part of it is he needs to re-up his glasses prescription. But the other side of it is, the average person doesn't notice that stuff as much. They notice is something fluid, is something stable, like with, Paper Mario coming out 30 FPS. That's fine as long as it's, as a different Minotti put, the good 30 FPS. As long as it's a stable and smooth experience, that's what the average person cares about. And I don't know. We're in a weird place development wise. I don't know if everybody has been catching on to this. Game development is in a weird place, Jeff.
It's really weird, and honestly, it feels like, well, it's not going to like bounce back and be what it was. It's going to be something different, and I think a company being like, okay, we're going to go with ARM going forward is also reflective of that. It's not all about the horsepower race. Like would,
especially now when handhelds are taking off,
right? And you would just outright, you would still, even in the next probably 5 years, I would assume, be able to get more raw horsepower out of an x86 based architecture if you really were trying to go for that. It's like we've reached good enough already, and the reason we know that is the conversation we just had. It's money's the limiting factor, not the horsepower. So it's like whoever spends the most money, again, like, is there a better looking game than Red Dead Redemption 2 or The Last of Us Part 2 from the PS4? Not really. You can get it to run a little bit better here on newer systems, but in terms of the fidelity, the image quality, not much stuff that looks actually better than those games.
Yeah.
All right, let's go over here to Arrowhead and Helldivers 2. The CEO is stepping down voluntarily to take on the role as Chief Creative Officer. This comes from Jordan Midler at VGC. Helldivers 2 developer Arrowhead Games Studios has a new CEO. Former Paradox Interactive Chief Business Development Officer Shams Georgiani is the company's new CEO, replacing company founder Johan Pilstedt in the role. Pilstedt will remain Chief Creative Officer and Chairman. Speaking to GamesIndustry.biz, Pilstedt said that the decision to hire a dedicated CEO will give him more time to focus on game creation. You basically just kind of reiterate some of those points, but this is like the kind of thing where, we have figured out what this company is. We have figured out our games. We have a really strong footing on what we want to be. I have established the creative identity. Now let's bring in someone that can really make sure that we're going forward as a business in a smart way. And I think we have had this conversation a bunch of times now, where it's like, this is what happens. A company has creatives in charge that understand the product. And they get the product to a place where it's doing very well. And then they often want to bring in someone who's like, I'm a business person. I know how to grow your business and capitalize on this. The idea here is now, just don't lose sight of what got you to this point in the first place.
Yes.
And having, I think, Pilstedt stay on as Chief Creative Officer and kind of likely being the face of the company going forward. Still, they're not at much risk of that happening. What do you think?
I mean, this is getting a bit in the weeds for my knowledge of the studio, at least. But everything you're saying there about making sure that you have people balancing things out here, like we saw with PlayStation's new dual CEOs and everything, it sounds like it's a good plan, on paper at least, to have those two people at either equal or in the same stratosphere of the company structure, to make sure that they are working together, to make sure that you do have a creative and you do have a business person working together to figure out how to make everything work and how to make the artist happy and how to make sure that's
Right.
going smoothly, but also the business is getting done. The company is
And
making
you're
the money
striking
they
while
need
the
to and
iron's
everything.
hot, right? The iron is
Right.
definitely hot for this company right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, you are going to want to grow now. And yes,
Right.
and having someone come on to figure that stuff out while you keep focusing on what made the game good in the first place.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that iron is so hot. Dude,
iron's
I told you
very
this last night. I uninstalled Helldivers 2 from my PC because just I need the space. It's 70 freaking
For
gigs.
what?
For XDefiant.
XDefiant's not bad. I played
it's bad. That game sucks.
It's
That game is bad.
It's very much a Call of Duty clone on a Xbox 360 vibes.
If you've never,
I've got a soft spot for that.
If you've never played a shooter in your life before, I'm sure it's great.
I've played wonderful. A lot of Call of Duty, and it gives me knockoff Call of Duty vibes, and I'm like in a place where that's kind of like warm, fuzzy feeling for me a little bit.
No, because just play Call of Duty.
I will just play Call of Duty. You're right. You're right.
Are waiting for you, dude. We're sitting there in the MW3 lobby. He's like, "Where's Grubb? We're just waiting for you, dude."
I'll come back over there.
It's not like trash. It's not garbage or anything. I don't want to disparage the game right out the gate, but it is. It feels very. First of all, I was playing with controller because it does have input-based matchmaking.
Yes.
So when I can, because I'm a big Call of Duty guy, I play with controller. It feels weirdly like floaty and stuff. I don't know. It's like my character is like sliding across the ground.
Yeah.
And the second the movement doesn't feel good, I'm kind of out.
Because Call of Duty's movement is so good. Yes, that is.
But
true.
even other stuff like Titanfall can do it. I know that's ex Call of Duty people, but like, we solve this forever ago, Jeff.
I'll give it a couple more matches. We'll probably play it a little bit at some point. I don't know when.
Yeah, we can play it as a group, I think, because it's also it's Overwatch Call of Duty.
Yeah.
And so I think if the team dynamic feels good enough, maybe they'll like save quote unquote the game for me. But I am not feeling that. What I'm getting at though, Helldivers 2 is a fantastic game that deserves a spot on my PC.
Yes.
More than this one does.
I think so. I would not have uninstalled Helldivers 2 if I could have avoided it. I get it. Let's get that reinstalled and just get back to healing nature.
Yeah.
Sticking with Arrowhead, though, they kind of followed up on some of this stuff. Arrowhead wants to remain independent and achieve From Software or Blizzard status. I mean, if you could just decide to do that, why not? This is from Jordan Midler at VGC. Arrowhead's chief creative officer, Johan Pilstad, has said that he wants the studio to ascend to Blizzard or From Software status while remaining independent. The company's former CEO, who has now stepped aside to focus on making games, told GamesIndustry.biz, "We pride ourselves on being an independent studio. We have to see what the future holds, but there's nothing in the plans where we want to be acquired by somebody. I want to see how high we can fly, and bringing new CEO Shams Georgiani on board, we have a good potential to realize that future of turning into the next From Software or Blizzard." Listen, you do want to set. Oh, game sent. Cool. You do want to set
Dan.
Yeah. Hi, Dan. Glad you're watching. you want to set your sights high, and I think this is like a good goal to have. It's not like something you can just do.
It's
or
phrased
just decide.
a bit funny.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just saying, oh, we want to be one of the biggest developers in the world. Hey, it's nice to want things.
It's nice to want things, definitely. But yeah, I think it's also true that wanting things makes you more likely to achieve those things. So saying they're going to do this forces them to start thinking of like, well, then what's that going to take? And I hope that doesn't detract from anything they're doing. I hope that doesn't like cause them to hesitate or anything like that. And I don't think it will. I think overall this team has a very firm grip on the kinds of games that they're making and the ways that they're doing it. So I hope this is just nothing but good things for them going forward. And yeah, what do you think it would take though to become a From Software or Blizzard? Like, it's not just Helldivers 2 being a great live service game going forward. It's a lot more than that, right?
25 plus more years of that?
Yeah, a little. Yeah. I mean, both those studios are. Well, this studio. When did they open? I don't know. And maybe
good point.
Maybe they're because like Helldivers 1 has been around for a while. Maybe that's their kind of toiling in slight obscurity era, like From Software had for some time. Even Blizzard had with people. Blizzard was not a household name really until some of its RTS games and stuff like that.
Arrowhead 2008, and they have a grand total of 5 games under their belt.
Okay.
So it's like, you're getting there.
You're getting there. Yeah, you're clearly going in the right direction. Clearly going in the right direction,
especially compared to if you achieve Blizzard status. Well, you don't have to do much to do that. Aim higher, maybe even. Yeah, aim for that From Software. There you go.
At this point, maybe so. At the very least, to me, this says that they do have grand visions going forward for being a studio that continues to make games. They're not saying like, and we're the Helldivers 2 company. They're saying, no, we want to be a creative powerhouse like From Software or Blizzard. And I think that's encouraging as well. I want this team to be like, no, we made a great game. Let's make another great game. And I think they have strong creative core values about what makes a game that's different from a lot of other studios. And I think in a way that it could be like From Software is, let's take that core and apply it to slightly different genres, slightly different games, and see what that looks like. And I would be there to check it out, because that stuff is very appealing to me. Just like, the weapons are going to work the way they're going to work, and there's strong physics and all that stuff. I think if they just apply that to other genres, at the very least, that's an interesting concept to me.
You can't say core values around a fighting game player, Jeff.
Sorry. Oh, no.
If you know, you know. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole, core values Evo Japan, you'll find it. But
fair enough.
Dead or Alive 6 was a wild game, Jeff.
Oh, anyways. Okay then. All right then. All right, I'll do some Googling in an incognito window later, apparently. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to this next story. PlayStation is working on a new platform for free-to-play mobile games. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. Shout out to VGC, who I hope they start their Patreon. I'm not sure if
I do. Yeah, I was sort of chit-chatting a couple of them yesterday. I was like, man, I was telling Andy has some fantastic stories that I want told. I will gladly pay $5 a month if they actually.
That's a good idea. Like, right, they were asking like, what kind of content would you want in there? It's like,
Not to derail us before getting into the story, but Jeff, when we did an episode of Jeopardy one time while we were waiting for you to hop on, it was me, Andy Robinson, and Mike Minotti sitting in a Discord call together, and we just started chatting about the random stuff Andy has in his background. And we were like, oh, hey, you got a GameCube there, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, let me tell you the story of this time I got my GameCube signed by Miyamoto. I'm like, what do you mean, Andy? What do you freaking mean?
He did that trip to Japan a little bit ago, and it's like, I think he's visiting like all of these studios and going to say
he does.
And he does. Yeah.
Because they know him.
He knows everybody.
Because he's been around.
Yes. So
y'all, the VGC boys, if you're listening, please get on this.
Yes. Yeah. Do your Patreon and then just have story time with Andy or whatever.
Story time with Andy.
And that would be a great Patreon exclusive or timed exclusive or something like that. And like
Jordan's been saying he's been wanting to do this with Andy and Chris for a while now. So I'm just saying.
To fill in what we're talking about here. VGC is part of the Gamer Network. Gamer Network got acquired by Ziff Davis /IGN yesterday. And in the story that we read on like as it was breaking on the Bombcast yesterday, they're like, there will be some redundancies in the UK. And it's like, okay. And then as soon as I got done the show, I went to go check Twitter, and everyone across the entire world that worked for the Gamer Network seemed like they were laid off. It was nuts. It was a bloodbath. It was terrible. It sucked.
It seemed like the only people we know who were unaffected were the people who are independent, like
Digital
VGC
Foundry
and Digital Foundry. Yeah,
right. So, hey, that it was terrible. There are some entities like VGC they're going to continue, but they're like, hey, we had a partnership. We're not sure what the status of that going to be. Should we start a Patreon? Yes, I want to support all these people where I can. Lots of great work was done. All right, let's talk about this free-to-play mobile games platform from PlayStation. Sony is working on a new platform focused on free-to-play mobile games. As spotted by Tweaktown, the company has posted a new job listing, for a mobile platform architect. According to the listing, the role, which will come under the PlayStation Studios mobile department, will involve hiring an experienced software engineer to design PlayStation's platform for developing, publishing, and operating free-to-play mobile games. It adds an individual in this role will spearhead the design and implementation of this platform, work in partnership with internal teams to connect mobile games to PlayStation services, and ensure that all mobile games meet PlayStation's quality standards. The successful applicant, who should have more than 8 years of professional experience in the mobile games industry, will design the system architecture and back-end services for the mobile games platform. Okay. So this is not too surprising. This is every company wants one of these, but Sony's been pushing and pulling in this space for a long time now, and it seems like there's been a lot of false starts. They acquired a mobile company not too long ago, in the last year or so, and this Mikhail Katkoff and Nicola Samastini. Yes, these are people who were like working at that company, or at least I know Mikhail was working at that company, and then has recently left. And it was alleged to me that they left because things were a mess and there was some toxicity. Again, this is alleged from someone that claims to be familiar with it, and it's stuff that I was able to kind of, when I poked around, it sounds like that's how it went down. And I think this has left PlayStation in a position where the mobile side of their business is a mess, and now they're back to having to rebuild it once again. I get why they feel they need to do this, but this seems like it's a challenging space that you kind of just can't make happen because you wish it. What do you think the chances are that Sony's going to be able to figure this out and actually get something worthwhile out of the mobile gaming space?
Slim, if it's their own platform, meaning their own store. That's why I'm kind of asking you about here. I'm trying to figure this out. New platform. Does that mean the PlayStation Store for mobile?
I doubt it. I think what this probably means is you're an Android guy. You remember when we had the Google Play Services thing launch? And it was like, you can like sign into Google Play Services for these games, and it'll have your account.
So like what Epic has with their accounts, and
it'll be like some back-end account and stuff like that ties them all together.
The mobile equivalent of like the PlayStation
launcher or whatever.
Overlay.
Yes, the overlay. Yes, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what I would expect this is getting at. Because it does say platform. There's no reference to store
that's
here.
what was a little fuzzy.
Yes.
And I guess maybe we just don't know the specifics of that. But yeah, we've talked about how Xbox wanting to launch their own store, that may not be a great idea. But if it's just tying their mobile games further into PlayStation services, that's a better route to take, because someone just downloading the game from Google Play or the App Store and then just signing in with a PlayStation account, that's going to go a lot more smoothly than trying to get them over onto a different store. So okay, I think this could work well, and
yeah,
I'm interested to see what comes out of PlayStation's mobile side of things. I think when you're talking about some of the Arrowhead news and everything like that, May was on the other day with Emma when you're talking about, could some of just the big live service games that they're doing be on mobile from here on out? And like, a lot of core gamers think of, well, I would never want to play something like Helldivers 2 on my phone, but that's where there's a big audience. There are people who want to do that. So if they're maybe moving in that direction, I think that could be cool. And I'm I'm interested to see what comes of this, what PlayStation on mobile nowadays, and isn't like what was like a Ratchet and Clank auto runner and stuff they've done before.
Lots of auto runners. Yes, I think there was definitely a Sackboy auto runner and stuff like that.
They tried to just shoehorn their IP on mobile gaming trends, and that's definitely not how you do it. So I'm curious to see where they go, and I would like to see some of just their multiplayer IPs just coming to mobile and seeing how that works.
Yeah, right, and I think I'm also hopeful. I also think I like to the past history of PlayStation trying to make stuff happen in mobile. Those games for sure. I remember the Sony Xperia Play, thinking that was a cool thing, and then be like, all right, we're going to have PlayStation Vita, but it's a phone basically. They've had a lot of initiatives, and they've mostly fizzled out. I think my expectation here would be like that's probably going to happen again. The timing is just so rough on this, where it's like they're kind of getting this stuff off the ground years after everyone else has done the same thing. Over at Microsoft, they just bought King to make that all make sense, and that puts them so far ahead. But you also kind of can't just leave the stuff on the table, so you have to do something. And there is going to be opportunities as these phones get more powerful and people get more, and like young people get more accustomed to playing bigger games on here. You can really change the game very quickly with one release. So we'll see. In the meantime, though, I'm gonna be interested to see how they present it. Is it going to be like this is another pillar of PlayStation that everyone should care about, or is it like kind of a small thing off to the side, and it like you look over and be like, hey, what's this game that's making a lot of money? And it's like, oh, I've never heard about this. It's because they weren't pitching it to you. This is an entirely different PlayStation audience. So we'll see how that goes off. And talking about PlayStation, people are going to want to hear like, hey, where's the PlayStation Showcase? I've only ever said May. May's not over is what I'll say. I'll just say May is not over. So give it some time. Even this week is not the last week in May. Next week is still May, everybody. So
people still asking about that, man. Speaking of VGC, I saw when Jordan posted that screenshot of you just being like, I'm so sorry for everyone affected by his layoffs. And there's just some knucklehead on Elon Musk's X being like, when PlayStation Showcase, like, all right, people, it's time to
fucking
back it
down
up.
bad, you damn thirsty nerds. Get the hell out of my face. Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, a lot more headlines, including this a new NBA Jam spiritual successor right after this. All right, let's get right back into it. NBA Superstars arcade game recaptures the spirit of NBA Jam. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Just over 3 decades ago, Midway's NBA Jam was a monster hit in arcades that rivaled Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter II. Arcades have largely fallen by the wayside since the days of NBA Jam's dominance. However, the spirit of the game is being revisited in NBA Superstars, a new arcade game from raw thrills and play mechanics that recreates the over-the-top style of NBA Jam. And to further connect the two games, NBA Jam announcer Tim Kitzrow is lending his voice to NBA Superstars as well. All 30 NBA teams are represented in NBA Superstars, which features modern players including LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Nikola Jokic. I always want to say his name is Jokic, but it's Jokic, I think. And Giannis and more.
Whoa, Giannis, my guy.
Okay,
you're not going to insult a buck like that.
That one I was like, you probably should know that one. Yes. Okay, yeah. Giannis. Yes. I won't even try to say his last name. You want to tell me how to say it?
I think I have a jersey with his name. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Giannis and Jokic, and Steph. All the stars are here, literally. You showed me this last night, Sean. This looks really promising, and I also like that it actually is an arcade game. Of course, I hope we get a home version, of course. But I actually do have like a. Now it's not. There's a Dave & Buster's a little bit down the highway from me, but there's one of those. I can't remember what it's called. It's equivalent.
GameWorks?
GameWorks is like, I wish it was GameWorks.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's something else. But it's like, it's basically an equivalent to Dave & Buster's, and it's right there. And they do have the Raw Thrills arcade machines. And I've got a soft spot for Raw Thrills after Cruise and Blast. Turns out they've been doing this for a long time.
This is that team, apparently, by the way, is the Cruise and Blast team working on this.
Yeah, main event. Thank you, Mumetic. Yeah, it's main event is what it's called. Main event,
okay. I was going to say, I was saying round one. I'm like, yo, if they got round one down the road from Grubb in Ohio, I'm going to be so jealous. I gotta go all the way down to Milwaukee for that. But no, yeah, this looks great. For audio listeners, I recommend checking out the trailer, but it looks like the 2010 NBA Jam game. A lot of vibes of that, which was a good game. And this looks like a good game as well, because hey, turns out NBA Jam still freaking rules. I mentioned it before. One of the reasons I go by TurboShawn is because I love all those Midway arcade games, all the like over the top.
Sorry, only you heard that. They didn't hear that. Don't worry.
Boom shakalaka, all that good stuff. That's what I want. Bring that back. And yeah, bring it back to arcades and let's play on this big extravagant machine. Hopefully it also gets a home port. Who knows? Maybe for whatever inexplicable reason, they keep bringing it to just the Switch. That was probably a limited thing for cruising because Nintendo owns that key.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this one though, Jeff. Again, they got Tim Kitzrow as the announcer again and everything. Everything's looking good on this.
Right. It's like I think it doesn't take much to like get the feeling right. Obviously, for me, that's not obvious because I'm an old man. But for me, I would prefer stylized graphics rather than the trying to be like, somewhat photorealistic. But I also get that that's where kids are at. Kids would prefer this style a lot of the times. Or something maybe akin to Fortnite. And I don't necessarily want that either. So, putting that aside, when I look at this, when they're doing the dunks, it has that like really great floaty feel that you want from an NBA Jam. Yeah. Visually, I hope that's what I'm actually playing. That comes across as well. But at the very least, it looks like they're getting the basics right here. And I'll take the kids to go play this. We'll have a good time. Because I'm sure it'll be at that main event. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Picross S Namco Legendary Edition announced for Switch. This is from.
I didn't see this yet.
Oh, you didn't see this? Okay, yeah, this is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. They previously did a Konami one on mobile, I think that was also the Picross S team. But Jupiter Corporation has announced Picross S and Namco Legendary Edition for Switch. It will launch via Nintendo eShop on May 30th for $11. Here's an overview of the game from the website. Basically, they're going to have little Picross puzzles pulled from 30 different Namco games, which include, and they don't say Bandai here, just to point out that Namco is obviously the star. It's like Dig Dug.
In the 80s, yeah, you old fart.
Dig Dug, Galaga. God, I almost said Galaga because I think that's how Mike says it.
That's how Mike says it, yeah.
Galaxian, Mappy, Pac-Land, Pac-Man, Sky Kid. Let's see, Xevious. Yes, they're going to pull from a bunch of games like that. And what happens is they just kind of take the old 8-bit icons and make a little puzzle based on that. That's how it worked in the Konami game, and that game ruled. And I don't think that was ever on Switch. So this is exciting to me because I like Picross and I like old shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, same here on both accounts. How is Picross on Switch? I actually haven't played a Switch one yet.
It's totally fine. It's a really good way to play those games, just like always.
Do you play with controller like Joy-Cons, or do you play?
I always play with controller for the most part. I think Picross 3D, I probably played with the stylus.
Well, I mean on Switch specifically, because that's what I'm asking.
Right, but even on the DS, I played with the controls for the 2D games.
Right, and I've played Mario's Picross, the old Game Boy game, and when that's your only option, you do what you have to. I'm just wondering how, because like the Switch is not very one-handable, you know. Like I try holding my Switch in my hand, and how do I would need a stylus or something too, just for the precision. So
right, this is why I just always play with the controls.
Yeah, I think that's how I'd have to do this one, but it looks good from a little bit I'm seeing here, looking at the images and everything. Yeah, because it's Picross, but they also have the accoutrement or whatever. They like, it just looks like they have the CRT affected pixel art and everything scrolling around in the background. It looks great.
Right. A lot of this comes down to presentation, right? You just want to have that really great presentation, and I think you can do a lot by using old video games as your basis there. So yeah, I'm hopeful that this will be a good entry in the Picross S series on Switch, which has had a lot of games, and now they're going to actually do it with the Namco stuff. Yeah. Well, it's 2 years ago, Picross S Genesis and Master System. I guess I forgot they did this one too. Man, I should go back and play that. Is that
I didn't? Mike popped off for that one. That's why I remember it.
Okay, right. Yes. Yeah. And anyway,
you like Picross, I think.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he does it. I think he's just like, I've never really played it and I don't get it, I think is what he said.
Yeah. Well,
but maybe that's the same thing. Maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, here, last couple of stories. I don't know, we got a handful more stories. Viral Switch sensation Suika game gets online multiplayer update this week. This is from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. Last year, the casual puzzle title Suika game went viral and ended up getting a local release along with some multiplayer DLC. It was Japan only for quite some time.
Right.
Now, in a new update from developer Aladdin X, it's been announced that the previously revealed online versus mode will be arriving on the Switch on the 23rd of May. That as in like tomorrow. This will add worldwide matchmaking and requires an online subscription to participate. This is paid DLC, but the game is a couple bucks. This is like $2.25, so you can get it all bundled together for $5.24. And I'm
there you go. That's nothing nowadays.
Definitely pay that. I really like Suika game, and I really do think that the original Suika, not any of the knockoffs, is the right one to play because it feels right. No idea how the multiplayer game will work or feel, but whatever. I'm going to try this out. It's $2. I'll give this a shot. Maybe we'll play this on the site as well. Right? Yeah, it'll be a good time. I think this is also like a cool thing that like these small games feel good just being like a couple extra bucks for a mode that would be free in other games because the original game was like only $2. Is that cool? And there's no real backlash against that as far as I can tell. Everyone's gets it.
It's like the Vampire Survivors thing.
Yeah.
Game is like $5, so we're just going to charge you $1 every time you put out a new DLC, and everyone, or $2, whatever it is. Everyone's like, yeah, just take my $2. I don't care because I spent next to nothing, or in some cases nothing, on the game. Sure, give me some more content. Go for it.
Right.
Yeah, so I like seeing that kind of thing happening here with Suika game. Not something that ever gets hooks in me.
Sure.
It's just a pretty simple not falling block, but falling fruit puzzle
falling
game.
Fruit game, yeah.
Yeah, I know some people, they get in their flow state, get in their Zen mode with this game, and that's cool. Yeah, again, keep talking about smaller games coming out and that being the greatest thing in the world, and more of that, always a good thing. Like to see them expanding this one.
Yep, exactly. And I'm I think you just feel it was like a game that felt really good. The way that the fruits were just sort of like pushing against one another, and you felt that tension, and sometimes they would just pop up and fall out, and you would lose. And it's like, oh my god, that was actually way more exciting than it had any right to be. It's just a JPEG of a fruit, and still gets me. So, all right, let's see here. Microsoft Copilot will watch you play Minecraft and tell you what you're doing wrong. This is from Kyle Orland at Ars Technica. Longtime gamers likely know that even single-player games could be a lot more fun with a friend hanging out nearby to offer advice, shoot the breeze, or just offer earnest reactions to whatever's happening on screen. Now, Microsoft is promising that its GPT-4 powered Copilot system will soon offer an imitation of that pro-social experience, even for Minecraft players who don't have any human friends available to watch them play. And man, you really want a backseat driver that's a computer? In a pair of social media posts Monday, Microsoft highlighted how real-time conversations with your AI companion Copilot can enhance an otherwise solitary Minecraft experience. In the first demo, the disembodied Copilot voice tells the player how to craft a sword, walking him through the process of gathering some wood or stone to go with sticks sitting in his inventory. In another, the AI identifies a zombie in front of the player and gives the seemingly obvious advice to run away from the threat and make sure it can't reach you by digging underground and building a tower of blocks. Okay.
I hate this, Jeff.
Yeah, okay. I do too, but I'm like, what is this response here? What is it about it that I hate?
It's gross. It's creepy. AI stuff is, I'm the guy. Good thing the story came out today. I'm the AI hater. I'm the one.
Yes, we need you right now more than ever.
Big thing right now. AI models, more often than not, are not, shall we say, ethically trained. They're trained on other people's stuff.
Yes, just table stakes. It's just going to get sued out of existence, it feels like. Yes.
Like all these AI models are just like taking from stuff on the internet, because these big corpos are like, oh, you're not going to do anything to us. We're just going to scour the internet. This is how human beings learn. But no, all these things are taking from artists who are not giving their consent for anything. So that's why stuff like generative AI really sucks, is because they're just basically copy what this artist does, put your own spin on it, boom. And like the language models have all been trained on all the content written online that is human language. So yes, it's the same thing. Exactly. And so with any of these AI models, that's why they all have a stink to them, because maybe some of them are trained in a better method. I've heard some of them are trained with some in-house stuff. I also don't trust any of those claims, Jeff, because how the hell are you going to do that and have an AI that's anywhere near competent? So anytime that I see Gemini or Copilot or any of these things, I just think there's a stink to all this. I'm still on Windows 10 because I realize this. Windows 11 finally got don't combine taskbar buttons. I know you're trying to censor me here, but I will not be silenced, Jeff Grubb. Oh, that's a different kind of okay. But I'm still on Windows 10. I saw a little Copilot logo pop up on my taskbar the other day. And I was like, what the hell do you mean Copilot in Windows 10? They backported it? I don't want this. And so I had to figure out how to turn it off on here, because I don't want you popping up and telling me, hey, here's how I can improve your life by going off in a completely different tangent that you never wanted. All this AI stuff kind of just sucks. You go to Google nowadays, you do a Google search, and they have Gemini pulling in all this different stuff and spitting out an answer that's incoherent. If that is indicative of where we're headed, and it feels like it is, then yeah, it just plain sucks, because Google's getting worse and worse, and they're replacing it with inaccurate model trained data. Yeah, and it's terrible, dude. I was catching up on Google I/O because I forgot that exists. This is the thing I was excited about, like when I was a teenager in college years, because I was like, oh yeah, I want to see what's new with Android and everything like that, because I'm a tech head. And then it's just AI. They even made fun of themselves. They were like, how many times have we said AI in this presentation so far? 120. And here's another one, that's 121. Y'all suck. I don't like any of this. So I'm trying to be like, okay, maybe they could thread the needle here
And even then, it's like every time I start thinking that they prove they can't, and like that's like this past week with all that stuff that happened with Sam Altman being like, "We're gonna put her in Chat GPT. We're gonna put the Scarlett Johansson character in there. Isn't that exciting?" Scarlett Johansson's like, "No, you're not. Please don't do that." And they're like, "Okay, we won't." And then they did anyhow. And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna sue you." So then they stopped. And it's like, okay, you guys really.
Because that's what it takes. It takes Scarlett Johansson's suing someone.
It takes her actually calling up her lawyers for real. And it's like, okay, they cannot help themselves. It will always be some mutated version of the ideal here. So there's no chance of them threading the needle, I think, in most of these situations.
There's just no nuance to any of this stuff.
I want some of these things, Sean, if I'm going to like put myself out there. The recent thing of people have been clowning on this, and whatever, you're allowed to clown on it. But the Microsoft thing of, hey, we're going to record your stuff locally and have a locally trained AI model be able to keep track of what you've done on your computer. So you could say, hey, where is this thing that kind of looks like this? That works really well with my brain.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
I get why everyone's like, well, they say they're going to keep that stuff locally, but they're going to upload all that stuff and do it. It's like, you know what? I bet you're right. You're probably right. And
that's
therefore, we
probably
shouldn't let them do this because I think you're probably right.
I
like what they're describing, but I don't have trust in them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Why would I?
No, I've used sparingly AI stuff for a variety of things. Like, I mean, in Photoshop, I believe content aware fill is like a sort of a dumb version of that.
Oh, yeah.
Is what they're doing there.
And on that algorithmic spectrum, yes.
Yeah, I've used that all the time for like making thumbnails and stuff, but now they have all this different stuff where we found out that they have just been stealing your art unless you opted out of it a long time ago.
Yep.
And they're just using that to train their AI models. That freaking sucks. Oh God, this is all just so bad, Jeff. Another example. I was like trying to think of the other day I was trying to make an art asset, and I was thinking it was something like what is the common divisor between these two numbers? I'm not amazing at math, so I was like, I know the math from like my algebra class back in the day, but I'm trying to figure out like what the biggest number is that can go into these two numbers.
Sure.
And I was trying to think this through, like what would the formula be, and I just realized, screw it, I fired up one of those AI things. I was just like, how many times can blah 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 blah, and just spit out the answer at me. I'm like, okay, that's where this stuff needs to be used.
Right. But
we talked about
we've had that like with Wolfram Alpha for quite a long time. Quite a long time.
You can have these dumber versions of it.
Yeah.
The AI part is cool because you can ask the question in natural language.
Yeah,
that's
more
really
natural language. Wolfram Alpha can kind of get close to that, but like, yes, more natural language.
You still had to
you have to work with
its
system. Yes.
Then statements.
Right.
But I was using that back in high school to help me with stuff. But it's just where all of this is coming from, and I don't want Copilot to watch me play Minecraft and like comment on it because I'm lonely or whatever. No, just no. Again, the reason I have an issue with all this is because it's all slimy, it's all gross. And there's potential here. There's so much potential to generate art assets from like stuff we feed it quicker for game development, stuff like that could be really useful. But instead, companies they're using it for nefarious purposes, like literal, like evil in the art realm purposes. That sucks.
And you're going to hear that again. Don't worry. That's the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 teaser. Has there really been 5 Black Ops games?
Yeah, because we had 4 numbers ones, and then
Black Ops Cold War. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. Let's put a bow on this conversation real quick. The thing that really frustrates me with all this is a lot of it's unfounded. A lot of it does a breakdown on the edges, so that it's like you can believe a lot of it is working, and then it breaks down and you don't notice. And then these companies are so reliant on it being the buzzword right now that this is why they're shoving it down our throats. This is why we get it mentioned 120 times. I think that probably what's going to happen here is it's going to be like Xbox launches in 2026. There's a strong chance by then they're still on that bandwagon enough that it's like, this is the Xbox with AI. Here's the AI button on the controller. It is always listening, so it can help you, and it'll just have you could just like ask it, and it'll have natural language conversation about the game you're playing. Isn't that great? It's like, please just fucking make a good video game. Please just do the thing that we've been asking you to do. Why are you doing all this other bullshit? Because that's what this is. It's just extra bullshit that is going to be Rob the Robot in 20 years. And it's going to be like, remember that dumb thing they put in there and made us have, like, forced us to buy with all our other stuff? And we're going to forget about it otherwise.
At least we hope.
At least we hope. Well, it'll be mutate into something else by then.
Probably.
Yeah. It's not going to ever really go away, but it'll mutate into something else. All right, here. Let's see here. Ubisoft's COD-Like shooter XDefiant was unplayable for many yesterday. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Basically just had launch day woes. I did get on this morning, was able to get into a match. I think they'll probably be able to figure stuff out, at least through the end of this week, and then maybe this weekend again, if it pops off or something, it'll be a headache again. But people were able to get onto that today, and I guess it's somewhat good news for this game that I cannot put my finger on its pulse. I cannot tell if this is something that a lot of people care about, or if it's like a loud minority, or if it is going to be a really big game. I guess I'll be looking for the headlines through the end of this week of like how many people are playing this game. And even then, does that matter? Because it's a free-to-play game, and maybe it's just a flash in the pan. What are your expectations for XDefiant?
Low. I don't know. It feels like anytime you try to just copy another game, you need to be doing something radically different in order to stand out. And when people look at this game, they're just going to think Call of Duty. But what's the problem with that for the average consumer? They think Call of Duty. I have Call of Duty already. Yeah. I don't need this. And so it's not good. I don't see it catching on with them.
And it's so much easier to convince my friends to go play Call of Duty because they're familiar with that. Yeah, this is free, but then I got to get them to download Ubisoft Connect, or I guess it's on console too.
There's a whole bunch of barriers every time. And if people are like, well, this is Call of Duty. Well, we already play Warzone or whatever. Let's just hop back into there or whatever.
Exactly. We all already have that installed. And they're like, oh, this is like only 50 gigabytes. Like, yeah, whatever. It's still enough of a barrier, I think, for a lot of people. But we'll see.
We'll see if it finds a market. Yeah, anytime you have one of these situations, it's a live service game. It could shut down at any second. I would not be surprised if it does. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Yes, I'm at the very least looking forward to see how Ubisoft talks about it in the next couple of weeks. GameStop Pokemon trading card game thing, if we have time.
We started a little late. We have a little bit extra time.
Yeah, we have time. Absolutely. What's happening here?
Okay, so I didn't grab the article or anything, but I definitely recommend I bring Pokemon TCG stuff to the table. If you can't see my little Champions playmat there, I finally have it hanging up in the background. I'm not bringing it to the table. It's just my hobby this time. This actually applies to something that I think people might want to talk about and be interested in. So I got this from PokeBeach, my source for Pokemon TCG news. Over there, John, he goes by Water Pokemon Master. Check out the articles. He actually has a journalism degree, so he's the only Pokemon TCG journalist we have.
Wow.
No offense to Jordan Midler, but
fuck Jordan.
So he actually does research on these things. He actually does interview people. He has sources in various places, shall we say. And so this is something they reported on a couple of weeks ago, and now is apparently actually happening. But GameStop to begin buying and selling graded Pokemon cards next week, and this is from a couple of weeks ago. And then the follow-up story was GameStop starts posting graded Pokemon cards for sale. And so basically what this is, GameStop has this new system where they will buy and sell single Pokemon cards. So, just individual ones. And so you have your bargain bin of $1 assorted hollow rare cards, but now they're also buying and selling PSA graded cards even in store. Wow.
Okay.
That's important to note. Yeah. And so it's rolling out to more markets. Apparently it's starting in small test areas right now, but you can bring in your slabs, bring in your PSA grade cards, and they will buy those grade cards. And apparently they are John has heard from various managers that they're starting to buy display cases for the valuable cards and everything like that. So if you walk into a GameStop now next to the Funko Pops, you might see all these slabbed PSA grade cards. So the reason I wanted to bring this to the table, Jeff, is because we've talked about physical media is going away. What does that mean for used game stores such as a GameStop? Yeah. So I was just curious what you thought about this whole thing of them. Yeah, they've sold random packs of Pokemon cards at the checkout line, but now trying to make this a big part of their business. Apparently, I'm wondering what you think and what the various chats we have here think of all this.
Yeah, my initial reaction is in line with what a lot of people in chat were saying, which is this feels a little bit late because there was definitely that boom in Pokemon cards during the pandemic, and so they're a little bit late to this. But it's also the kind of thing, like, there is a GameStop in just about every town in America, and there's not always a card or hobbyist store. And so if GameStop, so there was that recent initiative from them about, okay, well, what do we have that sets us apart? And I remember talking to them a couple years ago, and it's our associates in store. They're gaming experts, and they know all this stuff. And it's like, okay.
No, they're underpaid and understaffed. People are just trying to afford the McDonald's for lunch, dude.
Exactly. But they're like, so their idea was, well, let's create a space in GameStop, where people want to come and hang out and spend time and have it be like more of a social hub.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, how are you going to do that? And like, they redesigned the store around video games. And I'm like, that's cool. But most people, I think, that shop at a GameStop just want to take their game and go home and play it. Now, card game players love going to the store and playing cards with each other. They need that. So this feels like it's a better idea than what they've had recently. And yet I still feel like the genericized experience of a GameStop can kind of maybe rob like what people are actually looking for here, which is like, no, you do want the associate to know a lot about the card game that you're playing and be able to help you. And I don't think you're going to get that at a GameStop.
Apparently the employees are getting training on all this.
I'm sure,
they're specifically, like, obviously because it's good for the company, they're specifically showing them how to spot fake Pokemon cards and how to spot fake PSA slabs and everything like that. But talking about GameStop pivoting a little, they have started doing Pokemon hosts official events that you can sign up for as a business, including GameStop, where they do censoring me again. I forget exactly what this one is called, but it's like trading days. And apparently in these markets where they're starting to buy and sell individual cards of both, the just lower end and also the higher end, trading days where kids come in and just trade cards. They can get free promo cards. They can learn how to play the game, and their parents will buy product, have been very successful for these GameStops. And that's part of why they're doing this program now. So I don't know. It's interesting to see them combine this tabletop gaming stuff that, ties into video games, because Pokemon, it's interesting to see how they are sort of pivoting here.
All right. Last thing here, this teaser trailer for Black Ops 6. TheTruthLies.com is where you could find this. Apparently, I guess the community was able to find this somewhere. You have no idea what's coming for what The Truth Lies is referencing. I almost laughed when I was scrolling through this video earlier. This is people like going through a federally protected area right now. They're running across the road. They're getting in a car. Their faces are blurred out. So maybe the implication here is like someone found this video or the government took it. There it is. Mount Rushmore. Oh, damn it. With The Truth Lies written across all their eyes. The Truth Lies. And then some fucking Black Ops logo over Abraham Lincoln. What the fuck? Guys, what the fuck?
This is what happens. Grubb starts talking about Mount Rushmores left and right for the past 3 years, and this is what we get.
This is really dumb.
This is so dumb.
I kind of like, all right, what are you guys cooking over there? You guys got something real juicy and stupid this time.
I think Dan has the right of it, though. This is the right kind of stupid. I'm kind of into this, though. Exactly.
The right. I think, like, listen, it's dumb and it's just flat out, like, period. So dumb, period.
But it's like Die Hard dumb. It's like Die Hard with a Vengeance kind of dumb. I'm kind of into it.
If a Nick Cage movie trailer opened up with this, I'd be like, let's buckle up. Here we fucking go. And that's what I want from Call of Duty these days. So, okay, let's see what you guys have cooking over
Let
there.
It rock. Yeah.
Boy. All right. I was not ready for this, though, when I started this video. The Truth Lies, apparently. Let's get some more Black Ops games. Okay, that does it for the news. I got a poll question. I'm going to get that set up. While I do that, Sean, why don't you tell people where they could find you, what you have going on, all that good stuff?
Oh, you can find me on twitter.com, still redirects to it, TurboShawn _ TurboShawn, everywhere else on the internet, SHAWN. Of course, you can find me here on Giant Bomb doing a variety of stuff, oftentimes behind the scenes, sometimes on camera, like today. And the rest of the week, what you and Dan got cooked up for today, I'm wondering. Delight Club?
Yeah, I think we're going to do some kind of Delight Club. Last I heard is we might just make Jan play Mr. Mosquito. So,
Oh hell yeah!
yeah, and I really like that idea. But
Make him play like he's not begging for it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Well, yes. Right. Enable him to play the game that he was asking to play.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It'll be something along those lines. It'll just depend on whether or not we can get everything set up properly.
Okay.
And then that does mean no Blight Club today because Mike's out of town. That's not stopping the game sent from going off constantly now, though.
You signed up for this.
I did sign up for this. Yeah, and then regular shows.
Tomorrow you got the grab bag stream that we got scheduled.
Yeah,
we'll
have a bunch of games ready to go. Maybe we'll let the chat vote for like some of the other ones we play. There's some we definitely want to play, but maybe you guys can help us decide the rest. And then Friday we're going to go back to Elden Ring multiplayer.
That's right. That's what UPF is.
Apparently that could support like stably up to like 17 people or something like that. So Sean, if you want to come in and play with us, we got room.
I'm gonna be here, bro.
Oh, that's right.
That's
right. You're leaving. Okay. Well,
yeah.
Good luck, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta get my ass handed to
me. Yeah, if you lose by then, you could. Totally. All right. Do I worry that the game set might stain my walls? Yeah. What I'm worried about is going to give me gamer lung, and I'm going to go to the doctor, and they're like, "You got the gamer lung, son. It's all over
like
for you."
Popcorn lung, just lamer.
Exactly. All right. Poll question. We have not read the one from Monday yet. Will you get Game Pass for Call of Duty? Is that right? Yeah, let me refresh this to make sure that is correct.
From Monday?
No. Yes, here we go. Okay. Are you worried about price increases for Xbox Game Pass?
There we go.
51% said no, and 49% said yes. So 51%, it's basically 50-50. And that's with 3,000 votes. I'm like worry about it is maybe like the kind of thing where I'm like, I'm not worried.
Maybe that's the qualifier there.
I'm not worried.
It's gonna go up.
It's
just
gonna
a question
go up.
of when.
Right. Yeah. I expect that. And it's factored into my decision process right now. I still think upwards of, I think if it hits 20.00, once it hits like $20 or above, then it's going to be really tough to justify. But they're at like 17, 18 right now. I think they can go up to like 19.
Base Game Pass is $10 still.
Well, it's like $11, right? Didn't it go up $1?
No, I don't think even that. I believe just regular ass Game Pass, you just want to play the games on one platform, is still $10, and then 18 is Ultimate,
right? But
which
Ultimate's,
includes both of them,
yes,
as well as
online multiplayer,
Gold.
Yes. I think that's what most people seem to have is Ultimate, and I think you can maybe get that up to $19.99 and still justify it. Like I wouldn't be keeping it constantly like I would at like when it was $15 per month.
Friendly reminder, everybody, you can cancel subscriptions at any time.
Yes,
just turn off auto renew. Even just Microsoft makes it easy. Like don't let them get you on that one. Absolutely. Just buy it as necessary.
Let's see, there we go. All right, and that was yesterday's poll or Monday's poll question. We have today's poll question. Have you been to an arcade in the last year? Just wondering if you've visited in like however you want to qualify an arcade. If it's a tiny little arcade in a hotel, if it's a Dave & Buster's, whatever. Have you seen like a Raw Thrills machine? Because I have. So like my answer is yes to this.
Same here.
I'll vote right now.
I'm looking forward to going to a really big arcade on Monday, probably.
Yeah.
Galloping Ghost. I'm going to get a chance to go there. And
don't forget your GameCube memory card for the F-Zero machine.
Yeah, the one that you probably corrupted because you didn't realize you can't mix and match region lock things. But
it's not my fault. I didn't bring a memory card. That was.
That's not your problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh well, we'll see. Okay, I think that does it. Anything else we should talk about? Yeah, if you're watching today, we'll have a Delight Club in a little bit, so watch out for that.
Apparently, we have a Four Swords Fiesta happening on Giant.
Listen, this doc is maybe a little outdated. Maybe a little outdated in some ways. Sean, thank you so much for spending today talking with me about video games. I really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Jeff. Love being on the show.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself. And goodbye. Fade to black.